Isn't that like a kind of power trip thing?
Make sure you don't slide into the camera, the tripod. So
what?
Well, you just.
Well, maybe if we had some nice equipment.
Wow. Okay. Well, start paying for
Gina.
stuff.
Start paying me.
Yeah, start paying me. Yo, you guys owe me like a month rent, by the way.
Yeah, that is not going to happen. And with that, welcome to the Washdown.
Give me a discount price.
I'm your host, Jeremy Green. My co-host, Chris Nelson. Off camera, we have our producer, James Moran. And joining us today is Darrin Niemeier. Darrin, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be here.
Well, thanks for coming on.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
So we kind of talked a little bit before. You've been on how long? The fire
23.
department? 23 years on the fire department.
Yep.
You've been a captain for
8.
8 years.
Yeah. Drove for 10 years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And you got some dog stuff going on now.
Yeah. I do have a search and rescue dog, certified cadaver dog. So we travel all over the country, doing work with different agencies, doing that. So,
All right.
keeps me super busy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, let's.
I have so many questions about the cadaver dog thing.
Yeah.
I'm really curious.
Well, let's start at the beginning,
Yes.
then.
Okay.
What made you want to get on the fire department?
Well, I actually started with a small volunteer department as an explorer when I was 14, which was like 2 years ago.
We're all mentally still
Yeah.
Right.
there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I started there as an explorer. Got hooked right away. I had a cousin that was a fireman. Used to hang out with him, at his station. So that got me started. Then when I turned 18, became a volunteer or paid part time because we got paid per call kind of thing. When I turned 21, I got on at another, the second biggest department in our area. Worked out there for 3 years. Great department, great guys. I just knew there was and one of the chiefs out there actually came from our department, and he told me, man, if you get a chance, it's better retirement, better opportunity for promotion, that kind of stuff. But I had a great time out there, worked with some great guys, busy station. Actually, my last shift out there, we had like 3 workers, and then I got on our department and went to like one of the slowest stations ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a horrible move. But while I was out there, I had a great experience, learned a lot. Actually, that was kind of one of my first big fire department events. Pulled a couple girls out of a fire out there by myself. One of them barely made it. Since then, she's had a child that she gave her child gave her child's middle name as my name. So that was kind of cool. I get to meet him because of all the COVID stuff, but hopefully soon. But that was a huge eye opener for me in the fire service and what can happen. I mean, because it just stuck with my, hearing them girls scream as I was trying to get to them is something that stuck with me forever. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can remember the date, the address, all that stuff to that deal.
Yeah.
So right after that happened, I got hired on our department. Like I said, went to the slowest station ever. And
Is that station still around?
yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I went to the slower one that's gone now.
Yeah. Not that one. The next slowest one. Yeah. On the north end of town.
Oh, okay. I got
So yeah. So I was there for 3 years before I could work my way in town. But became a driver after I had 5 years on. Drove a ladder truck for 10 years. Became a captain. Was a captain on the same truck for a while before I got where I'm at now. But so through that amount of time, got married when I was at the first department.
Idiot.
Yeah. We had a child. Then she passed away 14 years ago. She was 2.5. So that event, up until that event, the deal with the girls was kind of like the big life changer for me. Then that event happened. She was 2.5, and so that just totally rocked my world. And and my wife, my ex-wife.
I couldn't even imagine that. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it was such an unreal experience. Totally unexpected. I mean, she had a heart condition, but it wasn't anything that we expected to have any major issues with. Mm-hmm. They think she threw a blood clot. That morning, it was cold out like this. I got up, went in there to tell her bye before I went to work. She was sleeping in her bed, and she was kind of snoring, which wasn't overly strange for her, but something didn't feel quite right. But she was kind of moved around a little and stuff. I'm like, okay, we're good. My ex-wife, she was getting ready for work and stuff too. She's a nurse. And so went on to the station, and we're sitting there around the table in the morning, and I hear a call come in. Address didn't even register in my brain. I heard a call come in for a non-breather. And I was like, and it hit me. What hit me, I was just like, because it was icy and snowy out and stuff. And I'm like, man, what a crappy day to have to deal with that, you know. And then I heard him say fire department member or something like that, and they added a chief to the call. I'm like, man, that's really weird. And then when they repeated it, then I caught my address. And I knew the only people there was my wife and my daughter. And I'm like, what is happening? And so I holler at my captain, and I'm like, that's my house. And he's like, let's go. And he goes, and I was a driver at the time, and he goes, you're not driving though. So we jumped on the rig and just made a flying trip up there. My wife called in the meantime, and when she went in to wake her up, she started having seizures and stuff. So ambulance gets there, go to the hospital. End up going. They transferred her to the Children's Hospital downtown. We're there for 9 days. Then we had to make the decision. She had like very little brain activity. They think she had a blood clot that went to her brain and caused a bunch of damage. So we had to make the decision what to do. She could either live on, life support for who knows how long, or we could, let her go. So that's what we did. So, so I held her as she passed, which to me, I got to be the first one to hold her when she was born and the last one to hold her, as she passed. So for me, I kind of bookended her life, but she was an amazing kid. That kid taught me so much for a 2.5-year-old about life in general, So of course we were super tight. I was lucky enough at that time to not have to work a second job for the department. Being on the department, how everybody's got a second job. Mm-hmm. I'd worked so much before, I was able to save up, and so for her lifespan, I didn't have to work extra. So me and her were super tight. So that was, like I said, a huge event. Was off work for a while. The day she went into the hospital, we were at the hospital for 9 days. The day she went in, by the end of that day, the guys on my station had my shifts covered for a month. Everybody was calling, put me down. I mean, just also, which I knew, how the fire department family was, but that just really drove it home to me. And of course, my family, they couldn't believe it. My dad's been a truck driver and worked Teamsters kind of stuff, and he was like, I cannot believe those guys would do that for nothing. It's like, well, that's what we do, Yeah. So I was off work for a month, and then I got to the point I'm like, I have got to go back to work. So went back to work, tried to get back in the groove, get back on my feet. Actually, me and my ex-wife at the time, we did really well for a long time dealing with the grief, grieving the same way, and we knew when we'd have ups and downs. We did really well with it. So then fast forward about 2 years. Well, in that time, that 2 years, my ex had to have open heart surgery, which we dealt with, and after dealing with losing our daughter, that was like, okay, we'll just deal with this and get on down the road.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like such a big deal after.
Right. Yeah. And that's been hard for me to deal with when I hear, guys on the job or just people in general complain about something. They're, whatever happened, their car won't start or they got in a wreck or whatever. I'm like, really? That's your thing. That's the biggest. And I just have to tell myself they've never experienced this. So for them, that's their moment.
Yeah. Well, everybody experiences everything differently and everybody has different life experiences. Right. Yeah. And whenever you haven't experienced something like that, then it's the mundane stuff is like, oh my God, it's so terrible.
Right.
But whenever you go through something like that, it definitely, it had to have altered your perception.
Oh, absolutely. And it took me a while to grasp that, to really see that. And now I get it. Now I'm like, okay, that person, their grandparent died, which still tragic, don't get me wrong, but it's just a different level, you know, or whatever happens. And I'm like, okay, for them, that's their moment right now. That's their most tragic thing. Yeah. So it took me a while to wrap my head around that, because I would be like, you don't even know what what pain is or grief is, But anyway, so wife has open heart surgery. Another year or so after that is when I got into the dog stuff. Always been a dog person. I needed an outlet. I needed something to do not to take the place of, but to keep me busy, to keep my mind busy from, losing my daughter, just dealing with everyday fire department life that you guys have all been through, just the normal stuff that you need an outlet. My brother's in the homicide unit in our city, and I'd heard him talk about using cadaver dogs. And I'm like, man, that sounds really cool. So he put me in touch with the people, got started doing that. And that's been 12 years ago, about 12 years ago. Started with my first dog, and I was just getting going to that. I was maybe 6 months into it. And I was having all these stomach issues. Like my stomach was rumbling all the time. Me and the ex thought, well, it's probably like a bleeding ulcer type thing or cook shack type situation. You know how that goes, right?
Yeah, it depends on who's cooking for you.
Right. So I kind of put it off for a while. She was fine. Like, okay, you got to go get checked out. Like, all right. So go to the doctor, do the whole colonoscopy thing, which the prep's horrible. The nap is fantastic.
I like watching people come out of it, though. That's fun.
Yeah.
If my dad has one, I have to go.
Oh, I've had so many of them now. But yeah, I always look forward to the nap. I'm like, oh, I get a good nap at least. I finally get 15 minutes of good sleep. Yeah. So as I'm waking up from that, I was still kind of groggy in that waking up phase. And the doctor comes in. He's like, yep, it's cancer. And I'm like all groggy, kind of one eye open, like look at my wife at the time. I'm like, what did he say? And he's like, yeah, it's cancer. I'm like, oh, so here we go. Another thing. And to be honest, once it kind of set in, I was like, it is what it is, And
so was it stomach or was it colon?
Colon. It was colon. And so I had surgery. They took 15 inches of my colon out. Had chemo for 6 months. Now actually I'm good. Everything's good. But through that time, I wasn't scared of it. I think it was because of losing my daughter. I was like, I actually, as bad as it sounds, I didn't care if I made it or not. I'm like, I wasn't afraid of dying. It's like, I don't know if there's anything on the other side or not. I don't know how all that works, but if there's a chance, I don't care if I die or not.
And how old were you at that time? Or
I was 35.
So it's been a little.
Yeah, it's been 12 years now.
12 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I didn't think you were quite 50 yet, but I was like,
no,
early or mid 40s. I didn't want to.
Upper middle.
Yeah. You're at the good plane.
Right. Yeah. So went through that, and actually, halfway through the chemo stuff, I was like beat down. I was done. I told my ex, I'm like, I'm done with this. Whatever happens. I'm not going back to chemo. I'm tired of feeling this way. And she was like, no, you're still going. I was so tired and wore out. I couldn't even argue. I'm like, all right, I'm going, whatever. I can't even argue with you right now. So luckily, she pushed me to go back. I went back, finished my chemo, kind of got back on my feet. And the whole time through that, I still kept messing with my dog, still kept active, trying to work out the best I could just to keep busy. So that's done. Back on my feet from that. Everything's good. Wife had to have a second open heart surgery. Yay. So, yeah.
So not to interrupt your story, but did you guys go to counseling or therapy or anything at all during all this stuff? Because this is a lot of stuff in a short amount of time.
Yeah. So it seemed like we were on like a 2-year, it was like every 2 years something major was happening. So we ended up, after losing our daughter, we got involved with an organization called the Compassionate Friends. Amazing organization. If you ever hear of anybody that loses a child, amazing organization. And it's all people who've lost children. And it's basically like I don't know if you really call it group therapy, but so you go to the groups and you kind of just tell your story and talk about it, and you get a chance to talk about your kids and show stuff and everything. And we actually ended up becoming the leaders of the local chapter for a little while. And it did a lot for me too. So that was all about, our kid stuff. And, me and her, of course, had a few issues here and there and went to counseling for me and her. And it was okay, but it was hard to find somebody that really understood. Mm-hmm. If you go to a grief counselor that's, lost other family members and stuff is one thing, but to find one that's lost a child it was just tough. We found it better to talk to people that have gone through it.
Right. And
that's where the Compassionate Friends really helped us a ton. So we did that, and we stayed involved in that for a long time, up till the time we got divorced, which was about 2 years ago. We stayed pretty involved in that. So let's see. Cancer's done. Second open heart surgery for my ex is done. kind of get back in our groove again. I'm still doing the dog thing, and it's really taken off. I mean, I'm getting super involved in it. Really getting. I mean, it's really. I'm getting really passionate about it by this point. The dog I was working at the time, which I didn't really get into the dog stuff yet, but the organization I'm involved with has live find dogs, cadaver dogs, tracking and trailing dogs, that kind of stuff, and I was doing the cadaver stuff. The dog I was working at the time, pretty good dog, but didn't have tons of drive to really do the job great. I mean, she had like 7 recoveries in the time that I worked her, but so I kind of started kicking around the idea of getting another dog, something a little more drivey, something a little more of a workhorse. So this guy that I didn't know him at the time, but I'd read some of his books, named Mike Ritland, amazing guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a former Navy SEAL.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an awesome podcast too.
Yeah.
Actually, I was listening to his latest episode on the way here. But he trains personal protection dogs, military dogs, police dogs. I mean, he's got a wide range of stuff, and he's
kind of that stocky guy, real muscular.
Yeah.
I think I've seen some of his videos.
Yeah,
calling the dog out of the truck and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that's the same guy I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's super good dude. So he's written a couple books about dog stuff. One is like the Canine Trident Warrior, Team Dogs. So I'd read all those books, and I was following him on social media, and he posted a thing where he had a couple of dogs he wanted to donate to give back to the community. So he had these 2 dogs he wanted to donate to somebody that would work them. So he said, send me an email, who you are, what you do, tell me your story, why you want this dog, and I'll pick out of those who I want. So I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I tell my wife at the time, I'm like, hey, I'm going to email this guy about getting this dog. She's like, yeah, go ahead. It's like, nah, he's going to pick you. And I'm like, I know he's not going to pick me, but I'm going to send it anyway, right?
Hey, you know the best way not to succeed? Don't try.
Right. So then I'm thinking, he's going to pick, a small police department or something, send this dog, do something like that. A couple weeks later, I get an email, hey, we picked you for this dog. And I was like, I guess I'm getting another dog, and it got really real. So get to go down there and meet him, meet the dog. Super cool dude, amazing dog. So I brought her back. Her name's Storm. She's a Belgian Malinois, just amazing dog. So I get back, start working her. Then my dog stuff really takes off. I mean, it's like I'm doing stuff with like federal agencies. They're shipping me around the country to do stuff. Since then, I'm working on starting my own dog business. I've been teaching a lot of seminars for search and rescue seminars, that kind of stuff. Starting to kind of dabble in the pet dog stuff a little bit more. So that's been like the most amazing outlet for me through all this stuff I've been through. But in that amount of time, is when we lost John and Larry. I was at that fire that night. That hit me pretty hard. Knew both of those guys. Went through the academy with Larry. Ran around with him. Did some dumb stuff for a little while.
That seems like that's a common theme with him.
Yeah.
Did some dumb stuff was one of the second or third things everybody says about him.
Right. Great dude, though, man.
He was.
And I always tell people those 2 guys are the epitome of firemen. You have one just wild child, go hard, just crazy, and the other more family man, not that Larry wasn't, but I mean, like, having the kids and doing the dad stuff. I mean, just the crazy and the calm. It's like one of those guys was each. But I knew both of them, worked with both of them a bunch. So, and I was there that night. So that hit me pretty hard too. I was super nervous after that. Well, that night, even when we finally got relief, got back to the station, they sent us on an automatic alarm. I'm like, we can't go on an automatic alarm right now. We just lost 2 guys. How can we, but that really kicked it in that, hey, the rest of the world's still going and they still need us, Yeah. Super crazy time. I mean, I think you guys were all on, weren't you?
Yeah. I was sitting at the station up north and heard it all.
Yeah.
I was off. I was working at the station in Westport area at the time. But I'd gotten the text of who it was and kind of.
Well, when it happened, so we'd gone in. I was in. We went around back and went in, and they were called the basement, but it was actually down to the first floor from the front. And just got in there. We were pretty deep in there, and I was like, this is not a good situation. So I told the firefighter, I'm like, listen to your radio. We're not going to be in there long. They're probably going to pull us out. And sure enough, they pull us out. So we come out, and I talk to the chief. I'm like, hey, we're going to go set up. And he's like, that's fine. And so I went around the building, and we just got our basket up when the collapse happened. And I couldn't see over there, so I didn't even know guys were there in that alley. And then I hear Mayday, Mayday, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. And see guys running around, but we're up above it. You can't really see who's who.
Yeah.
And then I hear them come on and say they're transporting 2 firefighters, CPR in progress, and I'm like, I think they probably meant we're transporting with 2 firefighters, like a civilian. And that's why my brain took that.
That's what you're used to hearing on the radio when you run those calls,
right?
And stuff.
Yeah, like we have,
Yeah.
And so that's what my brain's hearing. And then it didn't take long to figure out, no, that's not. You didn't hear that correctly, or you heard it correctly, you didn't process it correctly. No. And it was probably an hour into it because then we started fly piping, people running around. It was probably an hour into it before I heard who it was. And so I immediately tell my guys, I'm like, hey, my cell phone's on the rig. Everybody call your family. Tell them you're okay. Something bad happened, because the word's going to get out and phone calls are going to get made. And I want your families to know you're okay.
Yeah.
And so we all did that. I called my wife at the time, told her, what was going on. Said, it's bad. I don't know how bad. I'm okay. My guys are okay. And she said she hung up the phone, and probably 20 seconds later, her phone started blowing up with phone calls because people, family members knew I was working and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, that you guys know how that whole deal went afterwards. The recovery guys in the department, I remember the first regular alarm I ran after that. The whole way there, I was just like, we got to do this. Focus. We got to do this. It's gonna be okay. I recovered from that pretty quick though, and now I still think about it and think about those guys all the time. But recovered pretty good from that. Then it was about a year later, we were at another fire, and fly piping. Me and one of the firefighters with me, we were throwing water on the lower portion. It was a church. Throwing water on the lower portion, and there was like a 4-story portion next to us that the fire hadn't got into yet. There was smoke coming out of it, no fire really. So we're like, oh, it's pretty well contained here. And the chiefs were like, yeah, you're good. And then all of a sudden, conditions changed real fast. I'm like, And I had my face piece on. The firefighter with me knelt down in the basket to put his face piece on, and boom. And we found out later it was a gas explosion in that top part, and it blew. I thought we were either going in or over. And I was like, well, we're cashing it in. This is it. It got the dust from the bricks, and it just went crazy. So I just grabbed a lever, swing the basket out of the way. And then once things calmed down, I'm like, all right, we're good. We're good here. And the firefighter, he's looking up at me, and his eyes were changing around,
He
and
wears
was like,
brown pants that day.
Yeah, he was like, what just happened? And so he stands up. I swing the stick back over and get water back where it's supposed to go. And I said, I think we're good. And he goes, I'm not. I'm going down. I was like, all right, no worries. Well, as soon as it cleared off, I looked for my guys, and we had bricks up against the side of the rig. And I'm like, oh, God, where's Sal at? And I'm like, okay, he's behind the rig. Okay, where's Matt? Matt's back there, too. Okay, we're good. And so then I'm thinking, all right, we're good. And Damien's like, I'm not. I'm going down. I'm like, well, I should probably go down, make sure the rig's good. Everything's going to work fine. So we head down. He's kicking bricks and cinder blocks and sheetrock off the ladder on our way down. And as soon as my feet hit the ground, it's like I had no bones in my legs. I was just jello. It's like it all hit like, okay, that just happened.
Yeah, that adrenaline dump.
Yep, yeah. And as soon as I hit the ground and looked back at what happened and seen that there was 2 chiefs there, and they just kind of grabbed us and hugged us like, God, I thought we were really going to lose a couple more, And
how high up were you guys in the state?
We were probably, the part we were fly piping was 2 stories, so we were right above that. So, I don't know, maybe 40 feet-ish, maybe a little bit higher, somewhere around in that range. I know that there was another truck that actually had set up on the highway, and I was talking to their captain. Actually, this was not long ago. I was talking to him, and he was like, yeah, when that happened, we heard a boom, and he said, I've seen something flying through the air towards us. I was like, man, what is that? And he said, as it went past, he said, I know it was a air conditioning unit off the roof of the building. Went past us out onto the highway. Yeah, so I was like, yeah, it was really loud right where we were at. And so anyway, we ended up, burning that whole building down after that. But the chief of the department at the time, he showed up. He came out and gave us all a hug too. And he was like, man, when I heard this was going on, he's like, I was ready to turn my gear in. And he said, if we lost 2 more guys, I was done. But so that rattled me for a while. That affected me. I shouldn't say more than John and Larry, but it just kind of compounded on top of that. This is,
Yeah.
And I went and seen counsel, went to a counselor after that for a little while. And, well, actually, it started out as marriage counseling. And it took him about 0.2 seconds to figure out, you got a lot of stuff going on in your head. We need to how about we just do you guys separately for a while? Yeah. And so that was good. And really kind of got me kind of back on my feet and going again for the umpteenth time. But now, man, I'm doing good now. I mean, yeah, I ended up getting divorced. Sucks, but it was one of the things we kind of got to that point with everything we dealt with. And we were both like recovering, you could say, differently. Mm-hmm. And I had the dogs I was passionate about. That was my outlet, probably almost to a fault. But that was my thing. And if I wouldn't have had that, I don't know where I'd be. And she was at a point where she didn't really have anything. She was just in a funk, just couldn't, so we just kind of grew apart. No hard feelings. I mean, yeah, divorce is horrible and, whatever. She was a great mom to my daughter. She was, good to me through my cancer stuff. So, I mean, I can't say anything bad about her for sure. But we just kind of grew apart and got divorced. So now my current girlfriend, we've been seeing each other for coming up on a year. She's been through some tragic stuff herself, super supportive, loves the dog stuff too. So everything's good now. I'm kind of back rolling again. So love to help guys out when I see somebody, because I've been through so much stuff. I feel like I have a working knowledge of how to deal with some stuff. So
right.
So yeah. So yeah. That's.
Well, and
other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play?
I think I need a 5-minute break, to be honest. The first part of the story almost got me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. It's a good thing I'm off camera.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing, and we kind of talked about that a little bit whenever we talked to some other people, Bart in particular, that it's not about how many times, that stuff happens to you or get knocked down. Right. It's how many times that you get up and you just keep going, because recovery is one of those things where you can stay in your little bubble and just be comfortable and sad and, whatever. You have to get up and make yourself uncomfortable and stretch out and move and put that 1 foot forward every day. Yeah. And it's a constant process.
Yeah. And that's where, like with me and my ex, that's where she was still in that, which it sucks. And I hope, and I think she's doing a little better now, but I hope she can pull herself out of that. But that's where she was at. And I was at the part, I'm like, I got to do something. I got to get going. I can't just do this anymore. If it's giving back, because I feel like the dog stuff, doing the cadaver work, I'm helping families out, giving back and helping with that closure per se. So I feel like I'm doing something somewhat to honor my daughter, but just something for me too. And, but yeah, if you stay in that, I mean, like I said, if I would have not got into the dog stuff and got myself, I got a motorcycle. I don't ride it that much now, but I was riding all the time, just something, an outlet. Yeah. Then that's when you can turn into the dark stuff. And I've been in some dark places, don't get me wrong, some super dark places. And I never really got into drinking heavy. I know a lot of guys do. I did some a little bit here and there. Didn't take me long to figure out that as soon as I sober up, it's all still there. So yeah, that's not helping.
Some of us learn slower than others when it comes to alcohol. Yep. So whatever.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I still like a little Crown Royal on a pretty regular basis, but not heavy. Yeah. And I know a lot of guys do, and which I get it. I understand why they do. I've been there. But
yeah. Well, and it comes back to having a healthy outlet. Yeah. And we've talked about that of, you can pick and choose what you want to do on the side. You want to drink a lot or do whatever. Well, guess what? You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. Yep. Because everybody knows where that road eventually leads. Right. If you take something and do it in a healthy way, get into the dog thing or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I tried different outlets because I knew I needed something. I mean, I got it. I was, we bought 4-wheelers. I was into 4-wheelers for a while. Or I bought a side-by-side, bought a 4-wheeler, selling those, got a Jeep. The Jeep Money Pit. Still love it. Drove it here today with all the other Jeeps out there. A motorcycle. I still have a motorcycle, still have my Jeep, do the dog stuff. So now I'm like, well, what do I want to do? Yeah. which is great because it just, like I said, it's that outlet. And I think about all those things that have gone in my life every day. And I think about my daughter all the time. Yeah. I also really think she'd be proud of me where I'm at and doing the things I'm doing. The cancer stuff, that's been a weird thing too, because I know there's several guys on the job that have had cancer and beat it and stuff, and they're like, I'm a cancer survivor, and I feel like I should be more that way, but I'm like, no, it was what it was. It was a bump in the road, Yeah. But then I got to think about that's their major event in their life, right. So that is huge.
That perspective definitely changes.
Absolutely.
When you lose that,
lose
a child, unfortunately. And
Darrin, take me into your mindset. Something I find kind of interesting is working as a firefighter. You're constantly around guys, the camaraderie.
Yep.
And healing with the death of your daughter. You talked about the organization, and it was again a group setting. You're constantly talking with other people. But knowing two of the outlets you've now chosen are almost individual activities. It's you and the dog. It's you and the Jeep. What peace, what comfort have you found in the solidarity of some of these activities you've learned to help heal?
It's so like the dog stuff. I mean, it is me, but I get the most enjoyment of the dog stuff now. I mean, I enjoy working my own dog, don't get me wrong, but I really enjoy the teaching aspect and seeing somebody learn something and get better at it and see their dog get better. But I think it's just that it's that interaction that for a little bit, it kind of takes me away from everything else. Because I have to focus so much on what she's doing. And, any movement she makes, that if I'm training her, like, okay, she turned the way I wanted, so I need to mark that and reward it. So it's just a total escape from anything. I'm not thinking about all other stuff at the time. Same with, you've been Jeep and you get out on a trail and you're focusing on the line you're taking and that kind of stuff. It just kind of takes you away from thinking about all that other stuff. So I think for me, that's the big thing. It
puts you in the now.
Yeah. It just really focuses your energy on the now and what's going on right in front of you, and not all the big picture, everything that's built up to that. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. And like I said, that the guys have been great. Like when I had cancer, it was the same thing. They had my shifts covered. I mean, I owe so many guys on this job time, from covering shifts when my daughter passed to the cancer stuff. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, how hard it is to cover somebody's shift anymore, because so many guys sign up before you get a chance.
Absolutely.
Or if it's on your shift, you're trying to figure out your end day, and when everyone is taken, you're just like, I got nothing, man.
Yeah, you're like, I want to help, but
Then you feel like a load because you can't help.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question. So going through everything that you've been through, and then now doing, what you're doing, how has it shifted your perspective whenever you are on calls?
Oh, it's 100% shifted. It mainly shifted after I lost my daughter. So, I mean, you know how it is when you run anything with the death, either a code or a car wreck or whatever. You see that devastation. It used to always be, you come back to the station, you finish your meal, you go about your day, you're playing ping pong, whatever. I mean, you may think about it a little bit, but it's not like, doesn't impact you as much at the time.
Right.
So now, how that changed is now when I get back to the station, I'm like, well, it's been 30 minutes, so families are starting to get notified. So now everybody's world's changing, So now everybody's scrambling to get a hold of their family. Now they're going to head to the funeral home, and tomorrow they're going to be picking out caskets, And I don't know if that's healthy or not, but that's just where my mindset is now when I run those. Instead of, hey, we're back, let's finish dinner, we'll play ping pong. I go to that, and it doesn't bother me like it did at first. It used to really bother me that I thought that. Now it's just, I still think those things, but it's just part of my natural thought process.
How long does it take you to kind of resolve that? And
now it's probably only a few hours. I mean, I used to dwell on it. I would dwell on it for a day or so. Yeah. But now it's like the process happens quicker. Even stuff like, I can get back to the positive things faster. Same with my daughter. I used to get stuck in this, all the bad stuff, when she was at the hospital and holding her and, all that kind of stuff. But now when I get to that point, I can quickly come out of it thinking about fun things we did and things she liked and that kind of stuff. But it took a while. I mean, it's, they always say there's, the 7 stages of grief, which I don't care who you are, any fireman that's been very busy at all goes through that process through different things. Mm-hmm. I look at it more of like the tornado of grief, because that's those steps. They have them in order. If you look at any book about grief, those steps are in order. First, you do this, and you do this, and you do this, which is true to a point. But at any point, you go back to one of those. One of those steps, and you stay in it for a while. So I look at it more like a tornado that you're whipping around in. You may stay in the anger phase for a short period of time, then pop up to, the denial phase. So it's more of just, it's that. But now when I get into any of those steps, I can pretty quickly pull myself out to a happy place.
That is a fantastic analogy.
Yeah, actually, I really agree with that more than those books.
Yeah, I mean, it's and the way I came up with that, I was actually going to get my fire instructor 1. And I had to do a presentation for the class. And I was like, I don't know nothing about nothing. Right? And they're like, just pick any subject. I'm like, that's kind of a wide.
You're not helping me at all.
Yeah. I was like, well, I am an expert at grief. So let me see, So I started kind of jotting down and thinking, and I was like, because that was my first thing. I was like, I'll go through the steps of grief. And I'm like, that's not how this worked for me at all.
Yeah.
It's like.
But you mean the human emotion isn't a linear thing?
Right, yeah. It's like, I'm like, okay, I'm done with this step. I'm ready to go to the next one. Well, it just doesn't work that way. And maybe some people do, but I just don't think that's how it works.
I think most people are like you with the tornado, because you're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days.
Right.
And I think you always go back to that. I mean, it's hard a death. Go ahead.
No, go. I was, No,
so,
we're talking over each other, so it's fine.
So, I mean, a death is hard anyway in your family, but when it's your child, from what I understand, it's hard. I can't speak on how hard it is, but you're not supposed to bury your kids.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I work. My son's almost 19. I was still worried about it every day.
Absolutely.
He's doing HVAC and new construction. And now you're putting, the way I look at it now, you've been in the houses. Construction today sucks.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
They
secure
can fall
like
at any
should.
moment.
So now I'm worried about it. He's done some big HVACs and stuff, and I still think about it. I might get that phone call too. I know it's not the same as what you went through.
And I've learned that too, that anybody that loses a child, it's different for each person. It was different for me as it was for my wife, even though it was the same child, because we had a different relationship with her.
Yeah.
And I've met so many people now that have gone through so many different, losing children in different fashions, different ages. People have lost numerous children at different times or numerous at the same time. I mean, I've met so many people through that Compassionate Friends organization, which I actually did. I got to do a couple of presentations that were actually dog related, and how it was called. I forget what I even titled it at the time. The role of pets in our grief is what I did a presentation on. But I met so many people that. And everybody dealt with it different. Mm-hmm. I mean, I met couples that the wife, he's lived in the basement ever since. I never see him. He goes out the back door, goes to work, comes home, sleeps on the couch in the basement, and that's how that person has to deal with it. That was a super interesting time in my life to see all that different, how people deal with and process stuff. Yeah.
Darrin, I want to dive into your mindset. You're a captain on this job. You've been a captain for 8 years. You're a leader of adult men on this job. How do you, with all the experiences, the years of experience you have had, how do you convey that and help mold your men, not to necessarily understand what you've went through, but to help them find that resolution that you've found? Or even one day if you have a floater and you may only have one day with a kid, how do you share those experiences with your crew, with the new people on the job, to help them understand the resolution and help them find resolution?
For me, it's kind of an individual basis. Just like we said with the floater, it's hard. I like to think of myself as a pretty good judge of character pretty quickly. I've been way wrong a couple of times. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple that stick in my mind in particular, but we won't get into that. That's a whole nother podcast. So I try to individualize that for each person, As far as dealing with job-related stuff, it's more of, if we run something that I know is going to, if it sticks with me, I know it's going to stick with them guys. So I always, check on them, tell them they did a great job, everybody good, just kind of do a quick overview of what happened. And then I always try to think, a couple of shifts later, check on them again and make sure everybody's good. But yeah, I always, and you see guys start to fall into that whole, drinking thing or whatever. And I'm like, hey, you all right? Everybody says that. You doing all right? Mm-hmm. But I'll get their attention and I'm serious. Are you okay? when not when anyone else is around, so they don't feel that whole
the pressure.
Right. And just kind of talk to them about it, and just tell them some of my experiences. Everybody's been super awesome about it. I've never had anybody, shy away from it or anything. But on that whole doing something away from the guys where everybody, I've seen a huge change in that in my years on the fire service. 23 years ago, it was, the big boy club of just suck it up, buttercup, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it's not that way as much. It's still, to a younger guy coming on, they may still feel that way, but it is way different. You never seen anything with EAP stuff in the station or, Local 42 Cares stuff or any of those outlets to, peer counseling. None of that stuff was even talked about back then. It was just like, you're just a big baby if you have issues with it.
Find another job.
Right. Yeah. And I still hear, and not as much now, but the generation right before me, they're always like, how do we teach these guys? We need to show them the nastiest, grossest videos in the academy, and so they see what I'm like. They're not experiencing. They're not smelling it. They're not.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah. They're not. You're not smelling the smells of an alcohol-involved car wreck with the alcohol and the car smells, and that you guys know that smell. It's just
or the parents screaming as you're doing CPR on their child.
Yes. Yeah.
I know we've all run that call.
Absolutely, and you can watch all the videos you want. It's still, that's not going to change that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not the same as the
experience. So, I don't know what the answer is there other than guys just taking care of each other,
Yeah.
And I'm super happy to see that it's getting better. Obviously we're not there yet, and I don't know if you ever fully get there, but it's definitely gotten better.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things where, I think there are some things that we can do to maybe prepare them a little bit better as far as, coping skills and making sure that they know about the outlets, all of the programs that you mentioned, and that there are even other programs beyond that.
Yeah.
And then, but I think the biggest thing and the thing that will further it and push it along even more is, like you said, of us taking care of each other.
Yeah.
If you have a guy on your crew or a girl on your crew, whatever, and you know that, hey, you just ran a baby in a bathtub, you need to check on them.
Yeah.
Regardless of if, you're a captain, a driver, firefighter, whatever, you need to be checking on each other.
Yeah.
And it needs to be okay for somebody to say, yeah, man, I'm not doing well with that.
Yeah.
And not only maybe the first time they run it, but maybe the 7th or 8th. Yeah. Because it starts to compound.
It just compounds. Yeah.
It just, what do we call it? The stack effect? No, we called it the last time.
Probably.
We talked about it. Or I know you and I have talked about it.
Yeah.
Where it's not the one, it's the 2, 3, 5, 20 of those, the car wrecks.
Yeah.
Or the kids or whatever.
I equate it with, kind of like TBI, concussion, brain injury type things. It's all cumulative.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
The first time that you get knocked out, it's easier the second time and the third time and the fourth time.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing. 100%. And I'm kind of at the point in my career where, it's been a great job, great guys, but I'm just like, okay, I'm done dealing with bodies. I'm done. Even though the cadaver dog stuff, that's a whole different, which I know that sounds, but it's like a whole different, because I'm not usually involved when it happens. I'm just like, there it is.
Yeah.
You guys deal with it.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different mindset for me, but I just get to the point, I'm like, enough already. I'm just tired of it,
Well, you get tired of the violence you see, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still down there. Brand's down there. I work down there.
Yeah.
And you just get...
You lay in bed and hear gunshots at night.
Yeah.
You're like,
man,
you just wait for the bells to go off. Like, they must have missed. Or they drove somebody to the hospital and dumped them out.
Yeah. Or they... I remember they pulled up on the apron.
Yeah.
And it was 7.62 rounds. I was like, oh... because first you look at the whole... you're like, it's, pistol or whatever. Then you look at the windshield. You're like, nope, that's high-powered.
Yeah.
You're the only medic there because you're both the ambulances are out.
Yeah. I had one night I was laying in bed, hear gunshots, and I was like, man, that is close, like right out the window close. So I didn't want to set up because there's a window right there. So I'm like, okay.
Stay behind the brick wall?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, they're done shooting. I'm going to look outside. So I look outside in time to see this guy standing in the street. He put a new clip in, or new magazine in, and he empties it into this apartment complex by the station. And I'm watching this guy standing in the street doing this, and I'm like, it's so surreal to see somebody.
Typical Tuesday in our city.
Right? And that's the thing. But I've never actually seen somebody doing it, and the disregard for anybody's life or anything, and then to run off and jump in a car and take off. I stood there for a minute like, I can't believe I just watched that happen.
We saw it after dinner. We were looking south off, the street we were on.
Yeah.
And and it wasn't quite dark yet, but you could see all the muzzle flashes.
Yeah.
On both sides, back and forth.
It's just,
and we're all outside.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like, we'll go back in and take my boots with me because, you're going to go.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Darrin, it's an interesting point, and I want you to elaborate on something further. How do you find, after everything you went through, especially with your daughter, how do you find patience again, especially for those that don't value human life? Because we are constantly called to clean up those situations.
Yeah, it's, I think I just know that there's certain groups in society that just don't. And no matter what happens, they're never going to value that. It's super frustrating for me. Even if I go to Walmart and I see a parent doing what happened to me, they have their kid by the arm and swatting them, I'm like, just hug them. I don't know that's not going to fix it. That's going to make a spoiled kid, but right. But I'm just like,
if you only knew,
right?
Yeah,
that's the thing. And I know that there's people that there's no way to get that through. So I just kind of eat that, and which I know is probably not the healthiest either. But I know there's things I can't change.
Yeah. And
I think that's one of the things that has got me to the point where I'm at 23 years and I'm ready to be done. It's just so much of that. I'm like, I want to go to my own little piece of land somewhere where I don't have to. If I hear gunshots, it's because somebody's shooting at a deer or I'm doing it. That kind of stuff. So I don't know if I really developed that patience, other than I just know there's nothing I can do about some of those people. I've always had this saying, I wish I could bottle up the feelings of grief I had right after I lost my daughter and just be able to mist it in somebody's face, just so they don't have to fully experience it, just for a minute, just so you can get it off of you. Just experience this for 5 minutes, and then now look at life different from this point forward. I've always said I wish there was a way you could do that.
If you ever bottle a reality mister, I'd like it on that.
Yeah, I'll throw in.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think probably one of the most important things is you sharing your story.
Yeah. And like I said, I'll anybody that asks me, I share it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're looked at weird sometimes, or maybe people get uncomfortable, because especially with the stuff with my daughter, a lot of people get uncomfortable, which I get it. I mean, I understand. Nobody wants to think about that. But I'll share it with anybody just because I want people to know. I want people, not that I'm this person to look up to or whatever, but I want people to realize you can keep going and you can make a good life and you can be happy again.
Yeah.
I can tell you the first time that I laughed after my daughter passed, I caught myself laughing. I'm like, how can you be laughing? You just buried your 2.5-year-old. You can't laugh. You can't laugh ever again. So it took me a while to figure out, no, you can be happy. I mean, those memories are still there, and they always will be. But you can be happy again. You can have fun, and you can go out and have a good time, and you can laugh, and you can joke around, and all those things. But it took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah. So it's very true. Recovery is possible, and people can be very resilient.
Yes.
And I mean, as long as you put the work in, you can make it through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Something I noticed, especially after losing a mom as a child, it was obviously when I was old enough to probably understand it. You always hear the term celebration of life instead of funeral. Funeral sounds so boring. Yeah. But it truly is. Yeah. It's just like your memories with your daughter every time you think about them. They're a celebration of her life. Mm-hmm. All the fun memories. It's a celebration of them.
Yep. Yeah, and I talk about them every day. I probably tell my girlfriend at least 1 or 2 stories a day about her. Something fun we did or something. Because something will spark a memory, and I'll tell her, and she's awesome about it. And we've watched her videos and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's and it makes me happy to talk about her and tell stories about her. So, but it used to make me sad, when I think about those, because I'm like, oh, I'm not going to experience these things again. And there's still things that do. One of her good friends from her daycare, I'm friends with her mom on Facebook, and actually today seen a picture of her, senior picture of her and stuff. And I'm like, because I still think of my daughter's 2.5. And this girl, I remember her from daycare. Now she's grown up. So I still think about, like, when the buses start running at the beginning of the school year, I think about it. I'm like, I should be putting my kid on the bus. And you start hearing about prom stuff, and you go to a young couple's wedding, and I'm like, those things I'm not going to experience. She was my only child. I'm like, that's the stuff I'm not going to experience. I mean, that really sucks. But I also, in that 2.5 years, had the, and maybe everybody does with their child. I don't have anything to compare to but this one, but I had the most amazing experience with that kid. Just everything we did. She was so happy and full of life and so fun. And she taught me so much for a 2.5-year-old. So I just have to look back and think, you know, I was lucky to have her for 2.5 years because it was incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's probably, I think, the best way to look at it.
Yeah, and I think that's the only way you can.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, otherwise you're going to be in that miserable, can't function state forever.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Wow.
I'm still thinking about the kid thing. So okay.
Yeah.
That's the tough one for me of the whole story. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean to discount anything else that's happened.
No, I get it. And that's been the, you know, that was the kind of thing that kicked off everything. And that's everything else that I've done in my life compares back to that, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like people that, you know, I said people that have cancer, it's a huge thing. Don't think I'm putting it down, but to them, that's their end all be all. Well, for me, it was like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that sounds horrible, but
Yeah.
It's interesting here you
Makes
say
sense,
this
though.
because Chris and I, especially as medics, like so many times what we don't want to do is be out here at 3 a.m. for your toe pain.
Yep.
That's not an emergency to us.
Yeah.
We know because we see emergencies.
Yeah.
It's even more real for you because you've lived it.
Yeah.
It's not just, you know, it's not referred grief that you've had for others. It's yours.
Yeah.
And that's what's even more fascinating is that you've moved on. Like, it's not just you've moved past the patience of what we have to deal with and the patience of having to deal with it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's hard for me, and I really try to do it. And I know we run those people that the same people over and over and over, you know, that's just like,
Why are we here?
Right.
Yeah.
But other people that are having that bad day, it took, like I said, it took me a while. All this stuff's taken me a while. I mean, nothing happened overnight.
There's not a pill for it you can take.
Right. I wish if we can figure that out. Yeah. In the spray, we're going to be going.
Buy a pill, get a mister for free.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. We'll run them late night deals for people like us that are up all night. But it took me a long time to realize that that is this person's losing a child at the moment. You know, for them, that's their thing. That is the worst experience they can imagine. And that took me a long time to realize because I'm like, I know your dog died. I'm a huge dog person, but don't tell me that's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Well, you know, like we talked about, it's perspective.
right. And,
You know.
but I've learned to realize, okay, for them, that is
Yeah.
losing their child.
Yeah.
Or, you know, even if it's totaling their car and breaking their leg, that for them, that's in
Yeah.
their world, that's the worst thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
And that's been the biggest thing for me to not get frustrated and irritated and pissed off at those people is realize it. And sometimes it's hard. I kind of roll my eyes to myself like, okay, yeah, you broke your foot. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I just have to think, all right, for them, that's the worst thing ever.
Yeah. And it's sorry. I just want to say that, I mean, for you to get to that place and be able to process that and be able to look at it from that perspective, I think it's probably one of the healthiest things that I've heard, you know, as far as recovery.
Well, and I think,
you know.
I think part of that for me was when I was doing the Compassionate Friend stuff. Like I said, I heard people that some of the saddest, craziest, bizarre stories of how people lost kids and numerous kids. And I just think, man, how can I be sad when they're dealing with that? You know, when somebody that may had a direct cause of losing their child. I'm like, I can't imagine, you know, I had my own, enough guilt of my own. I can't imagine living with that. So I think that put it into perspective to me that it can't always be worse. You know, it can always be worse.
Yep. That's a phrase that that gets thrown around a lot, but I don't think people really
Until you lived it,
Yeah.
it can always be worse. And as bad as losing my daughter is, meeting somebody that lost 2 kids at the same time, to me, that's worse.
Yeah.
You know, it's all on that scale of, you know, of what's worse to somebody their worst day compared to somebody else's worst day. So I think I think I've been very lucky in the fact to have the experiences since that have taught me those things.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
You're a stronger man than I.
That's what some of the things I hear is you're stronger than me. I also hear God doesn't give you more than you can handle. You hear, oh, that would kill me. Mm-hmm. And I've learned to just kind of blow them off. But when I hear somebody say, oh, I could never lose a child, that would kill me. I'm like, and how I used to process that is, so you're telling me that I didn't care about my kid enough because I lived, and you're saying you wouldn't? Yeah. It took me a while to realize, okay, they're saying that because they don't know, and I'm like, you just live, you just do it. I woke up the next day, and I woke up the next day, and I woke up the next day, and, but that's been an interesting, and it's just society, what society says. Mm-hmm. And they always
we don't know what to say.
Right, and they want to compare it. Actually, some people that I met that are good friends of mine told me at their son's funeral that somebody told them, and you line up and the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Somebody told them during that, well, I lost my dog a couple of weeks ago. I know how you feel. And I'm like, how did you not punch them? And he was like, it didn't even register with me till later what they even said. But, that person, they didn't know what to say. To them, that's their comparison to the grief that you're feeling. That's the closest thing I have. Should they have said it? No. Was it dumb? Yes. Yeah. But at the time, that's the biggest grief comparison they had.
Yeah. When you're uncomfortable on that side, on both sides, you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's the most bizarre thing to me.
I've never liked doing the line thing.
What do you say? Because usually there's somebody standing up there that you don't know. Then you have to introduce yourself. I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. And they're like, okay. Yeah. And, it's such a bizarre...
Man, I'm still sorry for the loss. It doesn't change whether I know you or not.
Right.
But now I got to meet you and...
Yeah.
How many funerals have we all been to?
I had to do it as a 10-year-old kid for my mom. And that attention span lasted approximately 17 seconds.
I bet. Yeah, because I'm sure there's all these adults you have no idea who they are coming through. Like,
man.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm like, what?
The hell are you?
Yeah. See, when I died, no line. Just give me the old Joe Diffie thing.
Oh no! When I die, I want it to last all day. I want as many people to be uncomfortable as possible. I want like the all day long, big old receiving line. We're gonna make an event out of this, and everybody's gonna be miserable.
I want to I've always said I wanted like a rager, just like beer, barbecue, fireworks. So like,
make sure I'm there.
Yeah. So So in the future,
we all got to outlive Moran now
because we all hear, we all hear like, oh man, you remember so and so's wedding? Man, you remember Moran's funeral? That's what I want. That's what I desperately want.
See, my mom's like that. She wants the keg and she wants Spirit in the Sky playing on repeat.
Nice.
And I'm like, no, you can't. I won't let her have that song. We're fighting right now. Like, you can't ruin that song for me. Right. I love that song. The beer thing I'm cool with. I'll have a couple kegs or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah.
Put a beer in her hand and whatever.
Yeah.
But
Oh my god.
You gotta have fun with them. That's the thing.
I mean, that's the thing. Like you said, those are so uncomfortable, those receiving lines, and you never know what to say.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the for me personally, that's like one of the biggest. I just hate it. I avoid funerals at all costs.
Oh, I do now.
And,
I usually stay in the back, and I was like, I'm good. I'll talk to that person that I know later.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna skip the line and.
Yeah, I mean, I still go, depending on who it is, but I try to avoid him because that puts me back in that place. Remembering all that stuff, and that's kind of hard to shake. But so I'll pay my respects to the people in the way I can. But I avoid those two. Yeah. I mean, nobody likes it, but
no. Yeah. But we all have a different way of paying our respects to that person that we knew.
Yeah.
Or know, or
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's your dog company called?
I'm just getting off the ground. It's called Storm Canine Solutions. Got a Facebook page, Instagram. It's like I said, I'm just getting going with it. The main thing I'm doing right now is doing seminars for search and rescue. I've had a couple pet dog people reach out, so I've been working with them. I'm in the process of working with some stuff with Mike Ritland, hoping to get involved in his team dog stuff. He has an awesome online training thing called teamdog.pet, and he's working on getting that going as far as having trainers work with dogs and stuff. So work with them. Hopefully, going to get in with them and do some stuff too. It's a huge passion of mine. Just like I said, it's been the best outlet for me. I mean, I know not everybody's a dog person, but for me, it's been incredible.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Yeah.
Man.
Are you looking to get new dogs? Because I know somebody who's got puppies.
yeah, I don't even know what puppies at the moment.
I tried to help him out. He's not paying attention. He's taking a nap over there.
I can't wait till all these people are like, oh my God, they're so cute. I'm going to just like live stream once they get to that 4-week mark when their eyes and their ears are open and they just love the sound of themselves. I'm like, hey, who wants to come over still?
Right.
Come on over. Yeah. You get the 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. shift. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, everybody sees. Everybody wants the Shepherds and the Malinois because they see them on TV and they're like, "That's a cool dog."
Well, how many?
One.
I love German Shepherds and the Belgian Malinois. I love those dogs. I just know it's not a good fit for me.
Right.
I'm a fat, lazy guy.
It would make you not that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what?
Darren,
Maybe I'll lose 5 or 10 pounds.
That's an interesting topic that you bring that up too, because I think so many people are like, "Oh, I want a German Shepherd or a Malinois because they look cool. I can get an emotional support dog." They are not emotional support dogs. They are not therapy dogs.
No.
They are working dogs.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's, to me personally, that's a nomenclature that needs to be broken now.
Well, for me, they are emotional support, but in a totally different way.
Yeah.
They're not the. I have one, my retired one. She'll lay on the couch and stuff, but they're not the lay on the couch, cuddle with you kind of support dog that people think of. They're, yeah. If you don't have something for them to do, they're going to find something to do.
And you're not going to like what they find to do.
Right.
Usually it's chew 3 square feet of carpet out of the bedroom.
Yep, in there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're amazing. I mean, they will do amazing things. I mean, I watch my dog do amazing things all the time. And, I know several people in contact with people like, oh, I got a Malinois. I've seen the movie Max, or I've seen the Navy SEALs use them, and I want one. That's a cool dog. I'm like, well, 6 months from now, when you have to rehome it, let me know. We'll see what we can figure out.
Yeah.
So this could be more of a retirement dog for me when I move to the country, and we can go do things.
Yeah.
I don't have to get up and go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll give me something to do.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll make you get out and do stuff.
That's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
8 more years. That's all I got to make.
Yeah.
It's 8.5. Don't get cocky.
I'll buy that last half. Don't worry.
Yeah,
All
it's been great for me, and I don't see an end to the dog stuff anytime soon. Actually,
Good.
like I said, I'm working on expanding, doing the business stuff and some seminars, and so
That's awesome, man.
yeah, it's good times. Yeah, I love helping people learn that stuff and watching it click with them and their dog when it's like really starting to kind of hit the stride of, oh, I see what you're doing. And for the dog, they have no idea. My dog has no idea she's going out to find a body. For her, it's just a big game. If when I find that, I get my toy, we're going to tug, we're going to have a big party. It's going to be the best thing ever. She has no idea the weight of it,
Yeah.
So for her, it's just a big game. And she comes out of, I thought about bringing her, but I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, there's no, she'll just be all over the place. But yeah, they have no idea. She comes out of the vehicle ready to work. I mean, it's just, that's what they're geared to do. And she's like, I want to go do something fun. And
I worked with one of the ATF canines that back a few years ago when we had that shooter down off the highway down south at, 9-10 vehicles that got hit.
Yeah.
I worked at that ATF lab. It was a beautiful Belgian lab, or Czech lab. And it was just fun watching that dog. So it's like, look, I'm finding bullets to find a mass shooter. And it's just like, and there's my toy.
Like, hey, look, I found the showcasing. It's like the same with Storm. She'll be like, oh, I found a leg. This is the best thing ever. And it's a whole weird.
I kind of feel bad for laughing now.
Right. It's
all perspective.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I mean,
Like,
but
dog's perspective, even more
Yeah.
so.
yeah. I mean, from the dog, like I said, it's a big game for them. They don't realize they just found something that connects, this person to that person who's going to go to prison the rest of their life for killing somebody. The dog has no idea.
Yeah.
For me, it's amazing. I'm like, oh, that's awesome what she just did. But for her, it's like, oh, I got my tug. This is cool. Yeah. But,
It's the simple things in life.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wish they had that mind.
Yeah.
What better to, you say that though, what better to learn about just reevaluating the simple things than from a dog?
Yeah. Yep. Because, it is. And it's, like I said, for me, it's just such an outlet, and watching their mind, start shaping into learning this noise means this is going to happen. They don't understand sit or down or whatever. It's just a noise to them. This noise means this is going to happen, which means this good's going to happen, and it's now I'm going to get my toy, and it's fun to watch that all start clicking. And then the handlers is the same way, because most people don't understand that side of it, and to watch them start learning that too with their dog at a seminar, it's so fun to me to watch. And then I want to make good dogs and handlers to go out there and search and do good. But
I am going to disagree with you though, because my pit bulls, they understand English.
Yeah, my mom would lose a paycheck. So she's like, I can tell Storm, which is my working dog, I can tell Storm, okay, when you go outside, if you come back in when I call you, I'll give you a treat. My mom swears that dog can. I'm like, Mom, she hears outside, she hears treat.
Yeah.
Those are the rest of that's all. She does it, but that's what she's hearing.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't know. I think I got that border collie upstairs, and I'm pretty sure he speaks English. He knows.
okay,
I'm telling you.
Except the word stop. He doesn't understand.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't understand. Don't bark. Be quiet. None of that.
He understands. He chooses to ignore it because he wants to get his way. He never grew out of the toddler stage, even though he's almost 13.
Yeah, that's the other thing with a Malinois. They like mine's 5, and you would think that she's 2. I mean, they just don't.
Yeah.
They mature, but they don't get that calm adult dog.
That's how my shepherds are. They do amazing things, and then they regress. And I'm like, where did you learn to do that dumb thing?
Yeah, they're just like Malinois shepherds. All those that are that high drive working, they're the smartest, dumbest dog you'll ever.
It's fascinating.
I mean, yeah. But
Well, thanks for coming on the show.
absolutely, man. Anytime, guys.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it.
I want to learn more about the dog thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Anytime, and then we can get together sometimes when I'm training her, and you guys check it out.
I'd love to come see it.
Absolutely.
Learn something about dogs, because I'm dog stupid. My wife trained the dog. I didn't.
Yeah, anytime. I train her all the time. My search team, we get together and train a couple times a month at least, if not a lot more. And actually, we train down at the academy a bunch, the rescue shop, because we do some small disaster stuff too. So yeah, we're always doing something. Actually, for the 4 days after the Avenue fire with John and Larry, I had my dog that's retired now. I was there for the next 4 days when they came in and was doing the investigation, because they thought some homeless people were in there. Turned out there wasn't. But I spent 4 days there with my other dog searching. They'd come in and do their take off a layer of debris, and then we would search it.
So even though you knew you were there and you knew John and Larry, and being there for that 4 days with your dog, do you think that helped you in your recovery? Because it's still your...
I think it did. At first, it was pretty heavy at first, because you just sat there staring at that spot where those guys died at.
Yeah.
But also I also got to see the entire investigation that the ATF did. Incredible. I mean, the care and time and effort those guys and girls put in, it floored me. It was amazing.
I don't get how they do it.
Yeah.
They look at it just like a burnt pile of rubble, and they're like, oh, yeah, started here, went there, did this, did that,
Yeah,
did that,
I mean,
and that's who did it. And I'm like,
they had that crew was there set up. They had people. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, they went through brick by brick, laying stuff out. They would get a layer of stuff out in the street. They'd have a person go through and look, see if there's anything that was weird about it. If there was, they would tag it, pull it out, scoop the rest off. When they'd get a layer done, they'd go, okay, bring the dog in. We'd go in and search, come back out. They would keep going. I mean, it was just, you could tell they were passionate about finding out what happened. And whenever I think it was Larry's, when his funeral procession came through, they didn't come down the avenue, but they came close. And when they were in the area, they had everybody stop. The ATF people, everybody that was there lined up in the street, took their helmets off and stood there in silence till they were gone. And to me, that just made, I was just like, that's cool. That's cool shit. I mean, those people really care about what they're doing. And it was really interesting and cool to see and to be a part of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, one of my favorite pictures I have, if you look at my Instagram, whatever I've got, it's mostly dogs. One of my favorite pictures of that dog that I have that's retired now is at that. She's standing way out on a burnt piece of 2x6 at that scene. It's, but yeah, it was that was really cool to see that. It meant something to everybody else too.
Yeah.
But
All right.
Yeah, I didn't know about that procession.
yeah,
Then.
yeah.
I remember
I always try to tell guys that, not that it matters, but just that, hey,
Well, I think it
everybody
does.
cared, I mean, it was like, yeah, I mean, it was the guy in charge, and he was, I don't know who he had contact with, but like I said, when it got close, and I was watching on my phone, watching, the live feed. And, when they got close, he was like, okay, everybody line up. And it was, like I said, and we did too. I lined up with my dog, and we were standing out in the street. Everybody took their helmets off, and it was, you could have heard a pin drop. All the machines stopped. Everything stopped. And until they were out of the area. And you're like, okay, back to work. So it was really cool.
That's all.
Like I said, thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely, man. I enjoyed it. Love telling my story. Not for recognition as much as just I want people to realize that there's, you can keep going. You know.
Yeah,
So.
and that's a huge thing is that there is, there's life beyond.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. So with that, if you are struggling or you know somebody who's struggling, reach out, say something. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.